clicking fast and slow. So this chapter is actually inspired by a book called Thinking Fast and Slow. I'm not sure if anyone has heard of that book. It's a book from Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel Prize winner author, and he pretty much says that we have two brains. It's not really two physical brains. It's two, as if we had one brain as a hardware, but we had two softwares or two applications running on our brain. One is a fast application and the other one is slow. It just turns out that the fast application makes most of our decisions during our day. Over 90% of our decisions are actually made in a fast way. And I'm going to actually make a small experiment with you now. I'm going to ask you a question, and it is actually the beginning of the chapter of the book. And I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to think very fast, and I want you to type on chat the first thing that comes to your mind. Please type on chat, like the first thing that comes to your mind, just type it here and send it on chat, okay? So it's an experiment that says that you have a bat and a ball. The bat and the ball together cost, hang on, I'm gonna actually get it from the book here because so you have a bat and a ball. The bat and the ball together cost $1.10. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much is the ball? $0.10. Marco says 10 cents. Luisa says 10 cents. Savtap and Victoria says 5 cents. Victoria, you knew because you read the book. I know it.
Just really like math, okay? I wrote it down on my notes.
So what happens is, it's funny because 50% of the people think it's 10 cents. Well, in fact, a bit more, like 3 out of 5 think it's 10 cents and 2 out of 5 think it's 5 cents. What happens is this is an experiment that has been done broadly, globally, and don't worry if you got it wrong. So 10% is wrong, 10 cents is wrong, and 5 cents is right. Because over 50% of the students from MIT actually get it wrong as well. So don't worry, you are at the level of MIT students and Harvard as well. So what happens is when we think very quickly and very fast, our brain makes this type of mistakes. Because if the ball was 10 cents, then the bat is $1 more expensive. Then the ball would be 110. And if we add up, it would be 120. But however, if the ball is 5 cents and the bat is $1 more expensive, then it's 105. So 105 plus 5, 110. This happens to us in many, many areas of our lives when we make mistakes because we use our fast brain. And what happens is our brain makes shortcuts. It pretty much creates a lot of shortcuts so we can make those decisions. So when you wake up and you go straight to brush your teeth or you drink coffee, I don't know what's your automatic brain, like the first thing you do when you wake up, that's a habit. So a habit is something that we do with our fast brain. And there is a way to train our fast brain to do things using less battery of our brain. That battery is called a cognitive load. So pretty much creating a habit is about training your brain to make fast decisions without you having to think slow about them. And what happens in the digital world is that we've created those habits. The applications, they've been designed in a way for us to use them without using our slow brain. So when you grab your phone out of your pocket and you unlock your phone and you go straight to an application like Instagram or WhatsApp or whatever application is the application that you actually go to without thinking, using your automatic brain, that means that you've created that habit in your brain to do that unconsciously. And my biggest goal here is to allow us to reflect on the things that we've been doing unconsciously so that we can retrain our brains to do them consciously. It doesn't mean that we're going to go on and delete everything that we are using right now. It just means that we should just reflect on what are the things that we are doing unconsciously. Because here, this is from the Daniel Kahneman's book, right? What he calls system one, which is the fast, the automatic brain, the emotional brain, the stereotypical brain, the unconscious brain, are things that we do quickly. And here are some of a list of things that we actually do unconsciously. So when you're driving a car on an empty road, you're actually not really thinking. If you're a good driver, and if you've been driving for a long time, like I've been driving for almost like 20 years right now, then I don't think anymore when I'm driving. The problem is, instead of using that brain to drive, which is something that I should be doing unconsciously, I've been doing things in my life that I actually should be doing more consciously. And the idea is to activate our system two, which is our slow brain, to reflect upon the things that we've been doing unconsciously, so that we actually decide whether that's what we want or not to do consciously. I don't know if you all remember, but I referred to this story, which was back about 2-3 years ago. This was showing on BBC, and this is a professor called Robert Kelly. He was giving a BBC interview, and then suddenly a child walks into his room and starts dancing. And then there's a woman who comes and grabs the children. And what happened was that very quickly, a lot of people started coming with assumptions that the person who walked into the room was the nanny. And a lot of people were going like, oh, the nanny coming in like a ninja and trying to leave unseen is priceless. What happens is that Professor Kelly is a British guy who lives in Korea, and his wife is Korean. So because she's Asian, a lot of people assumed that she was the nanny. And all these assumptions are actually called biases. All these biases are things that are shortcuts that we create in our brain to make fast decisions. So without thinking consciously, someone sees a white male and a child and an Asian woman walking into a room, and they put people into boxes. And those boxes are very dangerous because they exist to help us make decisions, but they can be very wrong, right? So when we make decisions based on stereotypes and based on very tiny characteristics of humans, we can be making a lot of mistakes, because this is a very simple mistake here. To assume that an Asian woman is a nanny is something that is totally mistaken, because she was actually the mother of the kids. But pretty much we make those mistakes all the time. And we don't even know that we are making all those mistakes, right? So I go along here and I talk a bit about those boxes, like the types of boxes that we actually create in our minds. And in the digital world, that can actually be even more dangerous, because what happens in the digital world is that we keep scrolling and scrolling, and we don't take time to know what really is a social media post. Like, we don't read the land of the post. Sometimes we just see a photo and we make an assumption. The other day I posted a video kissing my girlfriend's belly, and everyone started commenting saying that she was pregnant. We were on the beach and I decided to take this photo just kissing her belly. And then because I can show you the post here. I was just kissing her belly like that. That's what I was doing. And on the legend of the post, I actually said, if you read this, you will know that she's not pregnant. It's just a joke. People did not read the legend of the post, and they just started congratulating us because they thought she was pregnant. So what happens in our brains is that we are not taking time to digest the information that we see anymore. So we see an image on Instagram and we just digest the image, and we make a lot of assumptions of that image, and we don't read anymore. We don't make those correlations anymore between what we read and what we see. We just make very fast decisions. And my fear is that we are becoming more and more and more, making more and more wrong decisions because we are using our fast brain. Pretty much what happens is our fast brain gets used when we don't have enough time, to give to something to digest properly. So think about a tiny thing like a post with an image and a text. If you see the image and you read the text, you will digest better what really happened. If you see the image, if you don't read the text, and you assume a lot of things from the image, just like a lot of people assume that my girlfriend was pregnant just because I was kissing her belly, like we are making more and more mistakes. And that is the big danger with the amount of information that we are consuming, is that we are making fast decisions. And as everyone, all the Nobel Prize winners have proved scientifically, is that the more we use our fast brain, the more mistakes we make. So the problem is not only we are making those mistakes, but we can also train artificial intelligence to make those mistakes as well. There is another chapter on the book which I talk about when we train artificial intelligence with images, for example, and we don't give enough information so that the artificial intelligence can make better decisions, they end up making the same mistakes that we make. They end up actually coming up with the same biases that we make. And those biases are very dangerous because we are training artificial intelligence to make the mistakes that we make. So instead of actually correcting our mistakes and using technology to make less mistakes, we end up allowing them to make the same mistakes that we make. And that is a bit of what I mean by clicking fast and slow. Some of the tips that I give you are, before you comment on something online, before you write a comment, before you send a message on WhatsApp or any chat application that you use, just take a few breaths, right? Sometimes we receive a message and we just respond instantly without thinking. And when we do that, it's totally proven by science that we can be more aggressive. Like we can actually say things that we didn't mean. There is a research, and I can show you on the book as well. There is a research from a guy called John Suller that he shows that when we are using social media and we are using only chat, it could be any chat. It could be Slack, could be Google Chat, WhatsApp, any chat, like a Facebook comment, an Instagram comment, anything that is a chat-related communication channel, we actually dehumanize the person who's on the other side. Because somehow our brains have not evolved yet to actually understand that when I comment something online on a Facebook post, a human being on the other side will read that. So had we been looking on their eyes, like just like I am looking on Vika's eyes right now, even digitally, like I would be less prone to tell her something right now, which would make her feel bad than if I were sending her an email or if I were commenting on a post that she posted on any digital communication channel. So the main tip that I give is something so tiny, but it's so simple to do, which is before responding to something, try to take a few breaths, right? And actually try to wait for 5 to 10 minutes and rethink more consciously, like, do I really want to respond this way? Like sometimes I receive some emails from work and my gut feel to respond that email straight away is like, I'm gonna respond to this email right now. And then I go like, hang on, Fabio, this is your fast brain thinking. And then I just take a few breaths and I go like, let me wait 10 minutes until I respond to this email. Because not always like this, the famous IMs, which is like instant messaging, we feel like we have to respond instantly. We feel like if I send you a message on an instant communication channel, we have this feeling like if we don't respond right now, someone will die. And it's not like that. Like it's not always like that, seriously. If we wait 5 to 10 minutes to respond a message, like I'm sure that over 90% of those messages no one will suffer from anything if you take 5 to 10 minutes to respond. So that feeling of constant urgency as well is something that puts us in a state that we feel like we are constantly under stress. And what I do, actually, I'm going to show you, like, my phone at this very moment is in silent mode. Like, I have it face down right now. There is no one that will interrupt me right now. I am fully focused here. And I am sure that if something very, very urgent happens, I will see it in a bit, like when I leave this. We don't need to live in a constantly urgency, like as if we were in an ER of a hospital with people arriving full of like car accidents all the time. It's not like that. So my big recommendation is to slow down, because that's why the name of the chapter is Clicking Fast and Slow, because when we click fast, we make more mistakes. Not only when we click on something, when we like something, but also when we send a message, when we respond to a comment. And that is one of the reasons why there's so much aggression and so much hate happening online right now. There is a lot of hate going on. Like if we had a hate-ometer, something that could measure like digitally, like how much hate messages people send digitally, it would be like horrendous. Like how much, every now and then, like I get one of these posts that had like 2,000 comments, and I start reading the comments, and it's unbelievable like how much more hate and aggression there is on digital comments than actually love and compassion. And it's unbelievable, because it feels like when we do those things in a fast way, when we use our emotional brain, and when we are constantly under pressure, that is the bad side of us that comes up. So someone saying here, meditation helps to control the fast brain. Definitely it does. So the simplest thing that we do, and that every one of us does, is breathe. So paying attention to our breathing, right? Taking like a few breaths in and a few breaths out. It is the simplest thing that we can do to calm down and actually think more consciously, like bringing our conscious brain into the situation and making a conscious decision. So let me open the chapter again and go through some of the other, if you guys have any questions, keep posting on chat, because in a few minutes we'll start answering the questions. So this is the part where I say, like, I don't think, therefore I click, which is, it's a bit of a play with words with the whole I think, therefore I am, right? So I don't think, therefore I click. Like, most of the times when we are clicking on things, we are actually not thinking consciously. We are just going with the flow and doing things unconsciously. This is a graph from 2019, and in fact the 2020 graph has been released recently that shows what happens on the internet in 1 minute. So in 60 seconds, there is about 694,000 hours of Netflix watched on the internet. So this shows how much information has been flowing digitally to us. And this is kind of a confirmation that we live in the world of what I call infobesity, right? We are full of information in our brains. And one of the things that I recommend is to actually consume less information. It's not about consuming more and more information. It's about consuming the right type of information that you do want. And yeah, and focus is another skill as well. Like focus is a hard skill, because we are living the world of distractions. So focusing on one thing at a time in the digital world decreases the likelihood of making mistakes and being biased online. We have the tendency to think that if I do 3, 4, 5 things at the same time, I'm going to be more productive. But that is a huge mistake. Because focusing on one thing at a time, even if it's for like times of like 25 to 30 minutes, like if you focus on one thing for 25 to 30 minutes, the ideal time that I like to do is focus on something for 25 minutes, rest for 5 minutes, and then get back to something else. And because we live in a world of distractions, it's very hard to focus on something because I am doing one thing right now and then suddenly I get a distraction. I actually want to recommend another book which is very aligned with mine, and it's from a friend of mine, Nir Eyal. The name of the book is called Indistractable. He says that indistractable is the superhero skill of this century, right? If I manage to be indistractable, I can actually focus and do whatever I want in my life. It just turns out that one of the myths that Nir Eyal breaks on his book is that we feel like distractions come from the outside, but distractions come from within as well. Because I'm here talking to you, and there is a force inside of me that keeps asking me, Fabio, did you get any likes on your Instagram post that you posted this morning? And I have this urge that comes from within to actually grab my phone and look at my Instagram and see if I had any likes. Or there is an inner force coming from inside of me saying, hey, Fabio, did anyone send you a WhatsApp message that you have to respond? And the thing is that if they did, that is less important than the thing that I'm doing right now. And if I manage to control that urge, that force that comes from inside of me, and sometimes that force is a bit of an anxiety, like it generates, it's just like, I like the fact that Vika mentioned sweets, because when we receive a like from an Instagram post, there is a neurotransmitter that gets released in our brain called dopamine. And dopamine is good. So what we want when we get that phone is we want that dopamine, right? We want to feel good. We want that feel good emotion that we feel when we go like, wow, someone sent me a message. Wow, someone commented on my post. Someone actually liked my post. And that feel good is very similar to things that we feel when we gamble, when we drink alcohol, when we eat sugar. So it's very addictive. And that is the danger, because we feel like we want those things. We crave that feeling. And craving that feeling is what's dangerous, because we go for it and we haven't realized how bad that can be to us yet. So my main dream is that we realize right now how those things can be dangerous to us. That's why I'm so happy with the Social Dilemma movie that came out recently on Netflix, because that movie, I usually say that movie is my book made right on a movie that became like one of the most watched movies on Netflix. I read a post the other day saying that for the first time, a documentary became the top movies on Netflix. A documentary had never made the top movies, and it's making, because I think they did a great job at explaining the dangers of those things in a movie. That's why I totally recommend. But to make my point again from the last time that we spoke, I do not think that we should just get rid of technology from our lives. Because I think technology as a knife, I make a comparison that technology is like a knife. Are we going to stop using knives just because they can hurt? No, we won't. Like a knife can be a very good tool to cut, let's say, a sashimi. Like, how can we cut a sashimi very, very neatly if we don't use a very good knife? But a knife can also be used to harm someone. So I see technology the same way. I see technology as a tool that can be used for good or for bad. And unfortunately, we have companies that are making technologies and applications and websites that don't have the morals and the ethics to make that only for good. So our job is to understand how those things can harm us. And that's why I make the correlation with food. Like, we have good food and bad food everywhere. but it's our job to find out what we should be eating, because there's bad food everywhere. And unfortunately, it feels like bad food is actually cheaper sometimes. I don't know about you, but sometimes I see like cheap food can be the bad food sometimes. But I've discovered that good food can also have good prices. And I've been working a lot on my diet, not only my information diet, but my food diet as well in the past few years. And I've gone through a bit of a transformation in what I eat. And I created that correlation with the world of information. Everything that we consume on our phones, on television, on the radio, on any stream system, any streaming like video streaming that you might have, any podcast that you listen to. All those things are information that you are consuming. So if you don't create a diet, you will just consume whatever people want you to consume, as opposed to you having your diet. So the same thing that we do when we think, what am I going to eat for lunch? We should be thinking, what am I going to consume today for information? And we should be doing that every single day.